I don't think discipline is the end all be all wild card factor that determines someone's ability to be successful. Talent, of course, has to be there. You have to know what you're doing, you have to be competent. Opportunity is a big one, knowing the right people, being in the right rooms, putting yourself in a position where you can kind of have your elevator pitches of some sort. Timing is another one. I think that can kind of go hand in hand with opportunity, though. But I would say that discipline is that factor that allows those other factors to then be amplified and truly be applicable in your situations. But discipline in general, especially in the hustle culture side of social media, the no days off, 20-hour days, 7 days a week, that entire mumbo jumbo, it frames discipline as the secret sauce, that missing ingredient, the thing that takes you from the 90% to the 99th percentile. When I think the framing of it needs to be different. I think the framing of discipline, instead of it being the key, or not the key, but the wild card, the distinct factor, it needs to be the foundation. And I feel like one of the reasons why it's glorified to this degree, where it is the overemphasis when it comes to reaching goals in life, is because we frame discipline in a way to where not everyone has it. Where I would make the argument that people have discipline, it just shows up in different ways. Some people and their workload capacity will simply be different. So moving the conversation away from just people don't have discipline to people do have discipline, they just need to learn to work with themselves, I think will allow for the overemphasis of discipline to go away and now kind of have a more uniform distribution when it comes to the things that allow you to be successful. And it has this ability where, again, it doesn't guarantee success, but it keeps you in the game long enough. And I think that's really the key. If you do want to talk about discipline being this end all be all, it's not about discipline itself, but rather what discipline gives you. Where it helps you build this sense of longevity, right? And I feel like another misframing with discipline is that people will look at it as, to a degree, whether they want to consciously admit it or not, subconsciously when we talk about it, we talk about it as if it's just a short term thing. Lock in for this time, for this X amount of period, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. Just be disciplined for this time period specifically. And then once you reach your goals, we kind of don't talk about the discipline that you also need once you reach to these levels. We only talk about it specifically when it comes to attaining your goals, but rather discipline is a lifelong thing. It's something that's going to translate into every factor of your life. No matter what part of your life you pick yourself up and put yourself into, whether it's early development, when you start seeing your wins, your fully successful times, your habits should be the same. And I think that's the true discipline. Whereas it has become more of a fad than anything. Kind of like keto diets. You remember when keto diets were a big thing, and that was the biggest fad in fitness at the time. When in reality, we bring that back. We're like, you know what? Carbs are pretty important actually for the energy levels of your body. So maybe keto is not necessarily the best idea. But building on that idea that it keeps you in the game long enough, and the idea that discipline allows the other factors to then be amplified. Those other factors will only get you so far without discipline, but it's a bit of a bi-directional relationship. None of these traits are mutually exclusive. You kind of need to have all of them. Not kind of, you do need to have all of them. If you really want to reach a great length, then you need all of these things. And I think the danger that we fall into, or that a lot of people will fall into, even myself at points, is that we kind of look at it very black and white. That, oh yeah, this person might be better than me technically or physically, or he might know the right person, whatever, but he don't work harder than me. So eventually there's going to be a time where I will supersede them. And then the other people on the other side will say that I know the right people, I'm going to be all right. You need both. Because how many people, how many great people, how many I guess S-tier level individuals exist out there, but they simply didn't have the right eyes on them, or they simply didn't market themselves properly to now let their ability truly shine. And I used to live in this idea that my hard work will just speak for itself, and to a degree that should still stand. But you have to make a case for yourself. And although you can have a good track record with the work you've put in, if you can't articulate yourself to package the work that you've done, to show your value and whatever it may be, then you're not going to get anywhere. And it took me a long time to shift out of that idea that my work will just speak for itself and I have to do nothing else, to now, okay, my work has compounded. I am confident in who I am and what I've brought to the table. But I got to make sure that I'm putting myself out there. That whole idea of closed mouths not getting fed, it's true. It's true, and it goes to show that even people that aren't as capable as you, when they open their mouth to the right people, they get those opportunities. So now imagine this discipline that you have built that has allowed you to build better skill than them. Now all you have to do is just learn that ability to pitch yourself. Imagine the levels you can reach. That is when we can start having the conversation that it will far exceed all these other people. But you cannot live in this reality where it's one or the other. They are not mutually exclusive. You have to have both sides of this coin. Put it this way, you can't have a coin without two sides. You ever heard of a one-sided coin? That's just a piece of, not even a piece of paper. Piece of paper is two-sided. Everything's at minimum two-sided. Like unless you're talking about a line or a line, like a line in math, that's one-dimensional. Everything else is going to have at least two things to it, right? So moving from the idea that discipline is just a habit, it's just a characteristic of you. It needs to become you. This idea of discipline needs to become an identity. That when you think about things that are part of your identity, it's things that are second nature. It's things that you don't have to second guess anymore. It's just something that when you think of who you are, it's impossible not to mention. Like for example, a very basic identity for me. I'm brown. I'm Zan. I'm Zan. I'm brown. I'm brown as hell. You can't look at me and not see that, oh, this dude is brown or he isn't brown. So it's a dumb example, but when you look at yourself and you evaluate yourself, that I get it done no matter how I'm feeling, that's very important. That's a very I'd say quintessential, big word, very quintessential aspect of your identity. is being able to look at yourself and say that I get it done no matter what. And this translates to everything in your life, not just your career and your endeavors, relationships too. To stay in a relationship, to stay its course during its hardest times, you gotta have discipline in that regard too. Discipline is something that transcends any sort of boundaries when it comes to where it wants to stick its neck in. It is in every aspect of your life. And the way you build discipline is by consistency. Just small wins. And this is what I was talking about earlier with the idea that I believe that everyone does have discipline. I really do. But everyone's workload capacity is different. If you can only dedicate an hour in the gym, where someone else can maybe do an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you constantly compare yourself to the person doing 2 hours, you're setting yourself up to fail. If this person doesn't have to worry about any other existential things other than just their grades and doing well on exams, you can't compare yourself to them when you have to go to work and pay your bills and things of that nature. You have to do what's within your capacity. And once you're able to really internalize that, is when you can really start building those small wins of consistency. That way discipline just becomes your identity. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe. I'll see y'all around.